On this week's FAS TV, we're in Royal Deeside with Robert Marshall, one of 4 farms from the Deeside Monitor Farm, using different outwintering systems. And we head north to Glengolly Getaways near Thurso to hear how Yvonne Mackintosh has diversified into pet-friendly luxury pods. Robert Marshall has an extensive 2,500 acre cattle and arable farm and has incorporated Bale grazing into his outwintering on brassicas. Robert is part of an innovation project through Monitor Farm Scotland, where 4 farmers from the Deeside Management Group using different outwintering systems are being monitored throughout the winter, taking a close look at yield, nutritional value and cost.
We're here at Tornaveen on a grasslay field. It's land we've not long gotten into the tenancy. We're not entirely sure how long it's been grassed, but it's very much PRG. We burnt off the field, we round up and direct drilled in a crop of hybrid rape and yellow neeps. We picked hybrid rape and yellow neeps after a few years of trialling about with different varieties and looking at things. So based on a conversation with the seed provider and agronomist, this was determined to be our best option for the growing season in the conditions of this field. On this field we've got a group of 70 in-calf heifers. 75% of them will calve down at 2 years old, the rest will be calved down at 2.5 in the middle of April. This year for the first time we set it up with bale grazing through it. So previous to this we would have always just pulled in bales with either into feed rings or with barrier trailers. In wet years we made quite a lot of mess. So this led us to try this. So we wrapped the bales individually at the other end and we laid them out one by one. This was probably a mistake. We should have laid them out in the field unwrapped and then gotten somebody with a trail drapper to just wrap them and tip them for speed and less chance of damage. And we've laid the bales out at roughly 8 metre spacings in a row, and we've got 3 rows of bales across the field. After asking around a bit, I was advised that white wrap was the best deterrent for birds. There's a lot of pheasants here. It's a shooting estate. There's been no real bird damage to the bales. The crops, the kale suffered, the rape suffered a little bit in places, but nothing to get too upset about. To move them on a daily basis has been quite simple. They're eating 3 bales in 2 days. So we'll shift the fence over 2 bales, move it all the way down, and then go back, take off the plastic, off the wrap and roll the ring over the top of it. Day 2 we go back and we move the remaining ring. But we always leave enough shift so we move the fence the whole length every day. It's been quite wet at times this winter, but not as bad as last perhaps, and then a bit of snow, and it's just worked excellent. It's when the weather turned really wet, that's when we saw the real benefit, because we weren't making a mess trailing heavy machinery and trailers in and out of fields. This year compared to previous years we have, with the bales being new, this was the only field we did it in. Moving forward we're going to do an increased amount of it. It's a great labour saver, time saver. The cattle are more content and it's a more steady feed process for them. Hard to compare, the heifers are in better condition this year than last, but a very different winter, so it's hard to compare maybe that year on the year. We don't have enough shed space for all the stock we've got, and straw is at quite a premium in this area, so it reduces the amount of straw we need. Also, by doing this, the cattle are harvesting the crop, they're spreading the manure back on it, and it's just ready to go for the next year. So we'll come in with a heavy set of discs to cultivate it and then to put in the following crop. So the plan for this field this year is to follow it again with a brassica grazing crop, again with bales through it, and then year 3 it will be again heavy tilled without ploughing and go into grass. So the risk of brassica following brassica, we've done it before where it's been long-term grass and we've always kind of gotten away with it. So I think risk aversion is getting greater. We're not that worried about it. Throughout the winter, the weather has been very varied. So it started off very dry when we started on, which was ideal. It was nice and easy for the cattle to eat, tidy up, keep it tidy, and we got them all set and going. And then we come into a period of wet, and you see as the fence crossed the field, you can see where it got a bit dirtier and a bit muddier. but we're still never in more than maybe a 6 inches. There's no ruts, no tracks, a little bit of mound round where the feed rings were. When the weather dried up, within 2-3 days we're back up onto the surface again. Then we had the snow, which actually worked better than anything, so the cattle still dug down and ate the majority of the leaf and the bulb. Once the snow had disappeared, we just tightened up the shift for a couple of days just to make them go back and tidy it all up. And then now with the milder weather again, it's hardly leaving a mark at all. In fact, the grass that's come back through is almost regrazable. Was to set the fence up, so our main fence that we shift on a daily basis, we join 2 wires in the middle and put a reel at each end, because the field is the shape varies. So whichever end you're at, you can either add length or remove as you go, and that's our daily shift. We're using solar energizers just for ease of movement. Find them to be a great job. Batteries stand up through the winter, no problem. And then behind that we've run a secondary fence, just a single wire, again powered with a solar energizer, and we'll move it once every week, once every 10 days, just as a backup in case something happens. There was one day there was a bale that had been pierced and was a bit mouldy, so I decided not to put the ring on it so the cattle could just kind of cherry pick their way through it. They pushed it onto the wire and they were all out the next day, but the second wire was there and there was no long-term damage to the bales that were waiting to be grazed next. So the cattle come on here around about the 3rd week of October, and they've got approximately 10 days, a fortnight left to go. They've carried their condition really well. In fact, I think this winter we've maybe even gained a bit of condition with them. But as it stands at the minute, if I could maintain that for calving, I'd be delighted. Once this field finishes, we'll see what the weather is doing. If it remains really mild, we'll maybe find somewhere to keep them outside. But the intention is to probably bring them home nearer to where they'll be calving and take them onto a combination of slats and bedded courts, where they'll be fed silage and a TMR mineral. Minerals offered to the cattle has been magnesium blocks ad lib and a suckler powder mineral designed for the Grampian area on an ad lib basis as well. Through the grazing period, the yield has declined on it in the leaf. However, as we've gotten through it, the bulb has still been getting bigger as we've gone, so we have lost with some, but it has been compensated for with the bigger bulb. We're not really sure just what all's contributed to that, whether it's been the frosts or the snow. Talking to a couple of friends, there was a train of thought that maybe some of the cold winds had caused the leaves to rub and then let the frost in to do a bit more damage. But with the milder weather, again, we're seeing the leaves picking up and even a bit of regrowth coming from some of them. It's still, the moves haven't changed. The yield hasn't been impacted as much as to change the daily shifts. We always provide a run-back field for the cows to lie in. This year, with the bale grazing, we've found that they haven't gone back nearly so much and they've tended to lie just in the clean edge along where they've grazed a lot. It's there. We provide a ring of straw just as a buffer if needed. They've eaten 3 bales in the whole winter. If things went really wrong, we could pull in trailers of silage if we had to, just as a backup feed, but it's more just to give them somewhere clean to lie, a dry bed if it turns really wet. The reason we find this works really well for us, one, it's a great way for us to improve old grassland, in particular where it's maybe quite stony and we don't want to be cropping it or ploughing it. 2, it's a great healthy way of keeping the stock. They're outside. With these young in-calf heifers, it's actually putting a bit of pressure on some of them. So anything that doesn't stand up to the system kind of slips out the bottom very quickly and you're breeding into a better herd of cattle. 3, adding a lot of fertility to the ground. So again, old pasture, maybe needing just a perk up, we're adding a huge amount of fertility to the ground. We're tending to do it in non-inversion establishments, again with the following crops as well, so possibly adding to green credentials depending on your way of thinking, but we're certainly not burying all the best of it. We want to keep that to the top. And it just works for us. It's just an ease of management. Like I said, it's a quick feed. Come round here and I've got 70 cattle fed in 15 minutes on my way to something else.
On the outskirts of Thurso lies Glengolly Getaways, beautifully designed accommodation with a unique dog exercise park overlooking Thurso Bay and Dunnet Head. Yvonne Mackintosh talks us through why the farm diversified into tourism and their considerations along the way.
We farm along, there's my husband and my brother-in-law who farm together, and overall we farm 1,350 acres, so that's owned and rented land. So we have cattle, sheep and arable as well. We considered diversification. We had about an acre of land here. It was a stackyard. It wasn't really used for very much, and we just thought it had amazing views right over Thurso Bay, over to Dunnet Head. We also were in walking distance of Thurso. We bordered the Salmon River, and we also had the golf, Thurso Golf Club just up the road as well. So with all these kind of things right on our doorstep, and also being on the North Coast 500, we thought that it was just such a great opportunity to build the pods. So we decided on 4 pods. That seemed to be the magic number for us. It's what really fitted in the area and gave a little bit of space for what we've got as a dog exercise park. So we decided that we would have 3 that were pet friendly, and we'd have 1 that was pet free. And that gave us the opportunity then to really think about our demographic, who would be using the pods really. So we decided to do enclosed gardens so that people had that secure area for their children and for pets too. But we also had a dog exercise park so that people bringing their pets can exercise them when they come after a long journey, or if they're going away sightseeing, they can exercise their dogs before they go. And it's also a nice meeting place so that when guests come, they meet up with other dog lovers or cat lovers, or and they have something in common, and that's I think quite nice as well. We have 3 pods that are much the same set out. So they've got fold-down sofa beds, and they've got a double bed as well, so we can accommodate 4 in there. This pod that we're here at the moment is the coo shed, and it's a slightly different layout than the other 3. So what we have at the back is a bunk room, so we have bunk beds there, which means that you don't have to be making up beds when you come after a long journey and you have children with you. You don't have to be making up beds. It's got a blackout blind, it's got a blackout curtain, so when your children go to bed, you don't have to go to bed at the same time. They can go to bed quite happily, and you still have the opportunity to, watch TV or read, or have the lights on at least. So it gives you that flexibility as well for families. I think when we thought about what to do with this piece of land, there was lots of things that we considered, but we realised there was a big increase in staycations, and I think really in part that was the pandemic. So it really made us think about agritourism and the fact that it was an expanding business. And people like an experience. They like the experience of coming to a farm. So farm stays are quite popular, and I think it's thinking what your unique selling point is. For us, it's the land, it's the cows, it's the livestock, it's the lambing. So there's lots of things happening throughout the calendar year for a farm that are interesting. It's interesting to people. So with that in mind, for people thinking about diversification, it's what you've got to offer, and thinking how that works for you and what you've got on your doorstep. When we think about how the pod business and the farm business work together, that diversification works together, I think that we all have our individual roles, but we all basically come together. So Rob will do the hot tubs and the grass, and we also have Andrew who does the maintenance. My mother-in-law, who is the oldest of the family, she does the ironing. And it goes all the way down to my granddaughter, who is 2.5, and she plants out the planters out the front with me. Like, my son's an electrician, so if everything needs done, we all pull together, and it's really is much like the farm. When we need to, we all pull together. But in general, this is my little thing to do, but everyone pulls together. Everyone has their roles really, and they complement each other quite well. The pods as well, it's not having all your eggs in one basket. You've got like another stream of income, which is always helpful, because as we know with farming, it can fluctuate quite drastically. I think our biggest challenge really, it's kind of going through the legal part of it, so getting planning permission, building warrants, that kind of thing. It was just all the kind of paperwork really, and also getting the licence, because that was a change for us. That happened in the October. There was new guidance out about providing tourist accommodation. So it was a licensing laws, and I think that for everyone that was a huge thing, but because we'd never done it before and we were brand new, we had to get the licence. We couldn't operate without it. So that was quite difficult because we had the pods ready, but we couldn't actually open until August, until they'd been inspected. So we'd missed half the season. And when you're a new business and it's your first year, that, as anyone knows, that kind of first year is crucial to get things off the ground. So that was a kind of a worrying time as well. And I think to be honest, the planning department were amazing. They were really supportive of this venture. And for us, we did a feasibility study to support our planning application, and that was really good for us as well, because what it did is it gave you an overview of the tourism in the area, what was on offer, and so I think that was quite a benefit. And for anyone that was thinking about diversifying, a feasibility study is always a useful tool, really. I think starting anything new is a worry, but also exciting. So I think really you have to have that passion for what you want to do. It's not just about numbers. You have to have a passion for what you want to do, and then you have to have the commitment as well, because you will always come across stumbling blocks. And sometimes you think that it's enough to derail the whole project, but actually once you've had a day to think about it, you get back on track, and it's not such a big thing. And the other thing is just to enjoy it as well, because when you enjoy something, I think it transfers to everything you do and to everybody that you meet. So you have to really enjoy what you do as well. When we're thinking about the future, really, and we're not really thinking about expansion. We're at the stage in our lives when we're thinking about retirement, to be honest. But in retirement, it means that we chose this type of business because we can gradually get contractors in to do what we do. So we could have someone in cleaning, we can have someone to do the laundry, and basically it could be a business that you could run from a laptop and on a telephone. So the idea is that it's looking forward to looking to the future, thinking about retirement really, is that we can create employment as well, because as I kind of bow out, then other people will take over.